Nickelback, it is 107.3 The Point, Central Kentucky's rock station, and special guest in here today, Tray Benham, Big Daddy's Tattoo. What's going on, man?
What's going on with you?
Of course, you were on the Ink Masters, the big show there here, and just recently got knocked off of it.
Yeah, sure did.
Tell us a little bit about the process of actually getting on the show, because maybe that's interested to our listeners, just kind of figuring out how they could do something like that, because...
Basically, I was watching season 1 of Ink Master on the Spike TV, and on the last episode of last season, they were like, if you thought you had what it takes to be an Ink Master, send us a portfolio and a picture of yourself, and we'll see what we could do, you know. So I sent in a portfolio, and I sent in a few photos of myself, and I never heard anything back from them, so I kind of got discouraged. Then I got on SpikeTV.com, and they had a casting call in New York. So I bought me an airline ticket, and I was going to fly up there and kind of meet them in person, you know.
Right.
What better way to sell yourself than to be in person? So right after I bought my ticket, I had about a week or so till I was getting ready to leave to go to New York, and Spike ended up calling me and told me they wanted to meet me, and they were interested in having me on the show. So I flew up there, me and a friend, and they met me, and I looked through my portfolio and loved it, and they said that they wanted to have me on a season 2 Ink Master, and I was like blown away, you know. Because like thousands upon thousands tried out for it. Even a lot of people from here in Kentucky tried out for it and didn't get chosen.
Right. That's pretty awesome. You know, if you're looking at that show and you're watching that show, it's obviously, you know, a big stage for you. What was the coolest thing that you got to do on that show?
Oh, just everything about that was an experience that I'll probably never get to live again. You know, there's 16 of us chosen from all over the United States, the world, pretty much, and they flew us to New York and moved us in this big, you know, 11,000 square foot loft factory studio. And we lived there and recorded us. And then they had challenges every day that they set up for us to do. And then they would, you know, the judges would pick their favorites. And then the one that wasn't would, of course, get sent off.
Right.
And every week, and a matter of fact, there's a new episode comes on tonight at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can check it out tonight, and then the finale wraps up. Are you going to be a part of that?
Yeah, they're going to have a live finale in December. I believe it's December 18th on a Tuesday, and we're all going back up there for the end, and we don't really know how it's going to end yet, but
okay,
when you see it, we'll see it.
Okay. Trey going to be hanging out for a few minutes. Let's do some Metallica right now. It is 107.3 The Point. White Wedding, it is Billy Idol, Central Kentucky's rock station, 107.3 The Point. Big Daddy's Tattoo, Tray Benham in the studio. Ink Masters, the show's going to be wrapping up here in December. And a lot of challenges, you guys. It's very interesting. I don't have cable, so I've seen little pieces on the internet. I'm intrigued by the different challenges you guys had. Dead bodies.
Yeah, you know, fake dead body parts, airbrushing, cutting hair, all kinds of things that, you know, I've never really messed with very much in my career. It was a real learning experience doing all that stuff. They really tested us in areas that evidently I wasn't trained as well as I thought I was. Like when they had us, you know, in the barber shop cutting hair in Brooklyn, I was like, man, cutting hair. I would never thought they'd had me doing that for sure. But, you know, basically everything was based around tattooing, like fundamentals, how well we could do cover-ups, how well we could do color, black and gray, and et cetera, et cetera. And, like I said, you know, the 3 judges they chose, they would go through and pick what they liked best about a tattoo or what they didn't. And then, like I said, they would pretty much pick who was going to be around and who would leave every episode.
Now, you had challenges, and didn't you get, like, you could basically take this challenge or you could pass it on kind of thing?
Well, if you won a challenge, you won, you know, you could pick everybody's canvases. It was like a major... For the competition, you wanted to be in power.
Right.
So if you won a challenge, you got to pick what everybody else did. So normally, you know, everybody's trying to throw everybody under the bus. Yeah. The goal is to kind of give the other artists something that's going to make them stumble or drop the ball.
Right.
You know. So it was really hard, and there was a lot of drama this year. I couldn't believe it. You know, a lot of arguments, a lot of stress, just running on no sleep hardly ever. It was
Is it with the stress of the relationship, but just with everybody?
Just the whole stress of just everything you're doing being filmed, you know, and living with 16 people so in a tight quarters like that, you know, 2 restrooms for 16 people on a time schedule, cooking, doing laundry, getting ready for challenges, you know, it's just one thing after another. It's like we never got any sleep, and it was go, go, go. Stress all the time.
And you were almost ready to come home at that point,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're just like, all right, enough.
This old country boy couldn't believe it. I tell you.
Yeah. We got 3 days grace on the way. Figure 11. STP. More with Trey. Big Daddy's Tattoo. It is 107.3 The Point. 3 days grace. Chalk outline 107.3 The Point. Central Kentucky's rock station. Trey Benham. Big Daddy's Tattoo. And tell us a little bit about starting your business in this area. How you got started. You know, obviously a lot of art as a kid. How did you kind of go the way of tattoos out of the? I mean, obviously, you know, there's an artistic background and canvases. The human canvas very different than, you know, splattering things on a big piece of paper. So
well, to start off, I'm Big Daddy Tray. I'm from Brandenburg, Kentucky. It's a small town right outside Elizabethtown, which y'all probably know. I went to Meade County High School, and the last few years of school, I really got into art like real heavy, and I was basically wanting to go to college to be a commercial artist. Well, one night at a party, getting a little wild, I ended up getting a homemade tattoo done and realized the next day it was a big mistake. So I went to Fort Knox up in Radcliffe at a place called General Lee's Tattoos at the time, and I asked to get it fixed, and I showed them a drawing I did, and they were like, "Who did this drawing?" And I was like, "I did." And they're like, "Well, do you want a job?" And I was like, "A job? Nah, I want to go be a commercial artist." And they were like, "Well, we could pay you like $600 a week." I was like, $600 a week? And then being 18 and just do what you want? That sounds like a good deal to me. Which, of course, I didn't make $600 a week. That was just to get me in the door. But I'm glad it did, because I love tattooing and I love art, and I've always been a part of it. Even as a young kid, I was into skateboarding, and all the different designs that would be on the bottom of skateboards. I just loved it. So after getting an apprenticeship at General Lee's in the early 90s, I think it was about 91, 92, I ended up going on my own in 2000 and opened Big Daddy's. And then in 2001, I opened Big Daddy's in E-Town. And basically, I've just been tattooing ever since then, and had, you know, I've been in a lot of magazines and been on different little stuff here and there, and it's just been real successful for me, and I've just been lucky, I guess. And I'm just happy that I can do art every day and do something I love for a living.
Hardest thing you've done as a tattoo on a particular place of the body, or just a design that's been really difficult for you to do?
Well, you know, on an average, I would say the ribs is probably one of the hardest places to do a tattoo. For one, the customer is usually in pain. They're moving around a lot. You know, it takes a lot of control to sit there and hold still. And it's hard for us to stretch the skin while someone's moving in the area. Pattern wants to wipe off and stuff. But, you know, also, you know, this is an area we don't do a whole lot, but like armpits and people's top of their heads, the texture's different, the skin's different. It's a pretty hard area to tattoo as well, but I would say the ribs is one we're never happy to do and see walk through the door, but we end up doing them at least once a day probably.
And you know, your skin would really doesn't stay the same in that area.
No,
you constantly have a
you
flux
want to make
of
sure
weight,
they're
or
standing
right
up when you put the pattern on, where it looks good to them when they're showing it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many of those have you seen come back where they have to redo something like that?
Quite a bit. You know, I've been tattooing for 20 years, so you see a lot in 20 years, especially when you've been in the same area for 20 years. You know, girls who like end up having a baby, and then their body
absolutely
swells up to whatever level and then goes back, or maybe another.
Right.
You know, kind of like the balloon effect going on, and those usually need touch up pretty bad. So, yeah. We see quite a bit come back through, needing touch-ups here and there.
Big Daddy Tray in with Ink Masters, of course, the show. You're going to go back for the finale here. Who do you think's going to be the winner?
You know, I don't really know who's going to be the winner. They've surprised me with every decision they've made so far, so I'd even hate to guess. But everybody's real talented, even more than what that show would even show. But I wouldn't even want to say who I thought, you know.
Okay.
I have a personal favorite other than myself if I didn't win, but who knows.
Papa Roach on the way. Beastie Boys, more with Big Daddy Tray here, 107.3 The Point. Papa Roach, it is Last Resort, 107.3 The Point, Central Kentucky's rock station. Big Daddy Tray in here. Ink Master's going to wrap up, but when you started like doing art and stuff as a kid, now, what inspired you? What were some inspirations to you to actually pursue a career as an artist? Because that's what tattoo. I mean, you're a tattoo artist. Yeah. That's really what it is.
Like I said, when I was real young, I was really into skateboarding, and the art on those skateboards really influenced me a lot. Mad Magazine. I don't know if you remember that as a kid. That was a big influence, and Let's see, other Big Daddy Roth. You know, he used to design hot rod cars.
Okay.
The Rat Fink and all that stuff with the big motors and the hairy creatures shifting gears. Every bit of that was just what I remember the most, you know, about growing up and that. I just always remember wanting to be an artist, you know, to draw like Mad Magazine, you know, little characters and stuff. And it just stuck with me. My dad was an artist, my cousin was an artist, and a whole family of artists, basically. Even, you know, my first wife, she's an artist. Even my kids are artists. Logan, he's 13 years old. He goes to school out in Mee County, and he's all-time winning. That's my son. He's winning all kinds of art awards and holding little art shows here and there. We had an art show in Louisville not too long ago for him.
Now, do you show him some techniques that you have to help him along that way?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes when we're sitting around at night before they go to bed, we'll sit at the kitchen table and we'll all draw one subject matter and see how they do. And then I'll go over and say this could look a little better at this. And sometimes he'll do that to me. It's unbelievable how good of an artist a 13-year-old could be. You really underestimate kids, but he's unbelievable. And just seeing his drive makes me drive harder to be a better artist and push every day, too. Because, like I said, I run 2 shops, both Big Daddy's, one in Radcliffe and one in Elizabethtown. So we stay pretty busy just doing work all the time and creating and doing paintings and oil paintings, watercolor, just everything.
So if they're looking to get a tattoo,
come to Big Daddy's Tattoo in Radcliffe and E-Town.
Okay, they can get you on the web too.
Yeah, we're at BigDaddies.com and we're on Facebook and Instagram.
So they can look and see some of the drawings you've done. What has been you said the ribs, but what has been the most the hardest tattoo to do, like a body tattoo or a sleeve tattoo that you did for somebody over the years you've done?
Oh, I've done a complete bodysuit on like 2 or 3 different people, and that's something that takes years. Most people watch these TV shows and think that they can get a whole sleeve done in 30 minutes to an hour. And in reality, they got 16 hours in that, you know, in a sleeve or something like that. And, you know,
16 hours. That's a
long time.
Yeah, that's a long time. Everything on TV is a lot quicker.
Yeah, everybody, you know, they watch TV shows and they get all these ideas. This is the truth and this is how it works. It ain't always like that, you know. It takes a lot of work, and a lot of tattoos take hours upon hours to even get anywhere near that.
Big Daddy Tray, appreciate you coming in. The show is on, the final show is on what date? Do you remember?
I believe it's December 18th on a Tuesday.
On Spike TV, so
they
can check that out, and you'll be reuniting with these people. Do you want to reunite with any of them, or are there any in particular?
There's a lot of us are still buddies and still talk a lot and stuff, but main thing to remember is just hit us up at Big Daddy's Tattoo in Radcliffe and Elizabethtown. One
final question for you, and I didn't give you this. Dave Navarro, of course, you grew up listening to Jane's Addiction. I grew up listening to Jane's Addiction. Nice guy, business-like.
Real laid-back, easygoing guy. You know, I had these expectations about him before I went on the show, and he was total opposite. He was real down-to-earth and a funny guy. Had quite a sense of humor.
You kind of get a TMZ kind of feel from being on the outside of any of these guys. Oh, yeah, they're crazy or whatever. I've had a chance to meet a lot of these musicians throughout the years, and a lot of them are real down to earth. They're thankful for where they are and appreciate.
They're all doing their job.
They're doing their job. So Ink Masters, the finale will be the 18th on Spike TV. Check it out and go get a tattoo at Big Daddy's.
Big Daddy's Tattoo.
Big Daddy's Tattoo. Big Daddy Tray. Appreciate you coming in this afternoon.
Thank you.
107.3 The Point.